You ever get the itch? Nah, just kidding. Hey, I know it's like way late, but you know what? I really want to do the video devotional for the day. Just want to remind you guys that sometimes work situations or other things come up that I'm not able to actually post the video devotionals. But if you go to rallythetroops.org and sign up there on the homepage, you can get the email devotionals that are sent out daily through the web server. So anyway, today's, as you saw, was entitled Tested Tools, and the reference comes from 1 Samuel chapter 17 verses 38 through 40. It says, "So Saul clothed David with his armor, and he put a bronze helmet on his head, and he also clothed him with a coat of mail. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook. And he put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine." Now, I'm still kind of on this whole David kick, and so you kind of have to bear with me a little bit. This is kind of picks up right where we left off from last Thursday. I still talked about David on Friday, or Saturday. I guess maybe it was last Friday. I'm not sure. Anyway, remember David, the lions and bears and Goliath. So that devotional, where David felt confident that he could battle the giant, even though all others were afraid of him, because God had given him circumstances in his life where he had seen himself overcome great odds before. And so this is the message that we need to each take to heart right now, is the fact that life gets crazy, but God gives us circumstances, and those trials and tribulations that we go through, if we're willing to listen to the Master's voice, we tune our ears to hear His voice, then what we'll gain out of that is understanding for future battles, for future situations that we come across. And many times we don't learn our lessons the first battle, so we end up fighting many bears or many lions, when God really has a Goliath for us to battle against for His glory. It's not a prideful thing of self. It's more of something that God wants to use you to get someone else's attention or what have you. But today, in talking about today's devotional, and this will be pretty quick, I love the fact that, here David says, I'll fight him, and Saul says, well, God be with you, and gives his blessing for David to represent the nation of Israel, even as a young, good-looking, not rugged, kind of just a young shepherd boy. And Saul immediately throws all of this choicest armor on him. He puts a bronze helmet on his head, puts his chainmail on him, gives him this sword, and David's trying to walk around. He's like, what am I doing? And here's the deal. David takes it off and says, I can't use these. I have not tested them. And here's what we can gain from. When we go through trials and tribulations, when we come across battles before us, there will be many people that will try to clothe us or try to give us tools or weapons that are not what you've tested before. They may look like the most obvious, most reasonable things to do. They may be anything, but what we have to determine is, what has God shown us in the past, shown me in my past experiences. What has God used to show me so that I understand the tools that I have? Where others may say, man, I'd be so angry about something, and they want you just to get angry with them. And if you listen to them long enough, you can get angry. And then you try to drum up scriptures where you hear God's anger and you hear God's wrath, and that's easy to do. But then if me personally, I'm not a person of anger. So that's not the tools that I've tested. I'm more of a subdued nature when it comes to, I want to think the best out of other people. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And so whatever situation I come across, I'm not going to immediately resort to anger. That's not my initial defense mechanism. I typically get quiet, try to listen rather than just quickly respond. But so anyway, the point is this: God's given tools to you and I through our life experiences. David, he was a shepherd, so he cast down his sword and all the choice armor, and instead he stayed with what he knew. He trusted his staff, for he'd used it many times, and his sling, that he had perfected his skill of using that sling out in the field, and he took off after Goliath with just that. And what everybody else says, what are you doing? David knew what was right for him. And he was using tools that he himself had tested. He wasn't going by other people's experiences. He was pursuing what was right out of his own experience and out of his own calling, if you will, out of his own personal knowledge, intimate knowledge of, I've experienced using these things before. That's what we're supposed to do. So whenever you might come across any certain trial or tribulation, you come across something that God's asking you to stand up for, then before you just immediately resort, because there will be a lot of opinions and a lot of people will want to put you in just the right place at just the right time. It's more important that you stick with the tools that God has allowed you to perfect in your life, that God has allowed you to giving you the experience with, so that you understand their use, you understand how to use them and how best to use them. And as we know how the rest of the story turns out, I mean, David triumphed over Goliath with just a slingshot, and that's what we're supposed to be, right? That's the mentality that with God all things are possible, and all we have to do is just be willing to listen and answer the call when the call is placed on us. And if we do that, then He's already given you all the tools. He's already given you everything you need to answer that call. Don't think just because, let's say God calls you to be a pastor, right? You don't have to now. If you're called to be a pastor right now, it may say, if He gives you clear direction to go to seminary or some biblical study school, great. But that doesn't mean that's what you have to do. You don't have to go what everybody else did. See, all you've got to do is listen to the Lord, and whatever He tells you, you just pursue Him. And in righteousness, He will guide you and direct your paths. That's where I am, and it is a beautiful experience. These tools that I'm using on a regular basis are tried and tested by me. And I know them. I know them intimately, and so I use them, and I continue to use them. Y'all have a great day. Be blessed. Hope it spoke to you. It spoke to me today. And rallythetroops.org for more information. We'll see you soon.